to Smok'n J's Garage.
We are here today with, once again, 2013 Roush F-150, and we are going to put a new differential cover on it. Wait until I show you the new cover that we got. We had it custom made. But the purpose of this video is to show you how to change the oil in your differential or to change the cover. Now, you have to drain out all the oil to get the cover off, so the process is exactly the same whether you put your new cover on or whether you put your old cover back on. So the first thing that I would recommend you do, I came out here about 6 or 7 hours ago and I sprayed some PB Blaster on all of my bolts around my differential and also on my filler plug. Now, I don't actually need the filler plug because I've got a cover that's going to have a fill plug and a drain plug. Just in case you have the wrong cover for some reason, or you got something wrong, or you're just going to put your same cover back on, the only way to refill it is with that fill. So make sure you crack open that fill plug first. So make sure that you can get it open, because if you can't, then you're stuck with no oil and no way to fill it up. So let's crawl underneath the truck right away, and I'm going to show you where that is first thing. Right there is going to be your filler plug. That's going to be on your driver's side. Pretty much on all F-150s, that's where it's going to be. It's on the driver's side. That's a square. What I used is a 3/8 inch extension to tap that loose. I just used an impact extension, and as you can see, there's a couple hammers underneath there. I had to tap it a little bit even after I sprayed it with some PB Blaster. So go ahead and check that right away. Make sure that you can get that loose, because that might be pretty tight. Tap it if you need to, and I would recommend using an impact one so you don't break it off inside of there. But now let's go check out what that new differential cover we're going to put in. Check out this cover right here. We had this custom made by Lindgren Supercars. We got the Roush logo in it. That is going to be pretty awesome. That is, whoa, that is cast iron. We've got a drain plug on it. We've got a fill plug on it. The bottom fill plug is for the standard ride height. If you have a lift on it that's high enough that your axle is tipped back a little bit, you've got a top drain plug for that. This was actually made by Ford Performance. We just had Lindgren Supercars make the emblem for it. You're going to want to use 75/140 weight oil. That's what goes in the rear. 75/90 is what's going to go in the front if you're doing your front at the same time. Obviously, you're going to need either your new differential cover or your old one that you're going to clean the gasket off of. You are going to need a new gasket, whether you choose to use an actual gasket or you use silicone gasket making material. You're going to need something to clean the old gasket off of your housing and your cover if you use the same cover. And then you are going to need a 13mm socket. And I think that's all we're going to need. Let's crawl underneath there. Now, one thing that I forgot to mention is you may need friction modifier. I don't need it because I have an E-locker. If you have limited slip, you need friction modifier. If you do not have limited slip, you have an electronic locker like I have, you don't need it. One way to tell if you have the E-locker or not, if you don't already know, obviously you can check your owner's manual, look at your VIN. It'll tell you on the side of your door, it's going to tell you what axle you have. It gives you the code, so you actually have to look up what axle code that is, whether you have the limited slip or you have the E-locker. If your four-wheel drive button pulls out and that locks your differential, that's an E-locker. When we get underneath there, I'll show you the wires that hook up to it, and that'll kind of let you know you've got an E-locker also. I have the Ford 9.75-inch rear end, so I have 8, 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 bolts. If you have, I don't know how many bolts, I think there's only a 10 bolt on the 8.8-inch. It's going to be a different design though. It's more rounded. If you look over here, right there, that's your plug-in for your E-locker. If you've got an electric wire that runs into there, you probably have an E-locker, not a limited slip. People tell you that the differential fluid really stinks. Differential fluid does not stink. The additive that you add for a limited slip is what stinks, so ours shouldn't smell bad. We've got 13mm here. We're going to crack these loose. These here are just going to slide right off. This is for our brake lines. Just going to slide these off because we'll have to put them back on later. Move these up here out of the way. Now, I am going to loosen all of these up. The oil is going to drain out the bottom. I'm going to leave 2 bolts on the top slightly until everything drains out so my cap doesn't fall off until So I'll loosen these up and we'll be back to show you what it looks like. I had to stick a screwdriver in here and just kind of tap it a little bit to get the seal to break. So we're going to let this, I've got the top 2 bolts still in, so once this comes completely loose, it's going to hold on. And this current cover is pretty light, so it's not going to be hard to hold. I'm just going to let this drip here for a little while though, and once that's done, then we'll come back, pull the cover off, and go ahead and clean off that gasket material. You're going to want to make sure you scrape off all of the old gasket carefully, because you don't want any of this little silicone stuff to get inside of your housing. And remember that if you are going to reuse your old cover, make sure that you scrape that off as well. Alright, I feel like we got a pretty good mating surface up here. I tried to clean it off. I don't want to use steel wool or anything because I don't want any little particles, especially from the top, of metal that might fall into it. I think we got it pretty good though, and I went ahead and looked over here. Any little pieces of gasket that I might have dropped that fell onto the gears, I tried to wipe those off as best as I could. Also right here, this is like a little pooling spot right here. I took my finger and I kind of dug that little bit of oil out of there too to try to get all of that out. So I think we're ready to get the new cover and the new gasket. Alright, once we get this cover back on, all we got to do is snug these up. Remember that there are 3 bolts that are different because we've got to be able to hook our line on there. Make sure you put those back where they belong. Go around, snug all of these up, and then we are going to torque them to 33 foot-pounds. Now, a couple of reasons that I put this on, besides the fact that it looks really cool, is it has an easier fill plug, it has a drain plug, which is also magnetic, so if we do have any shavings of any kind, they're going to stick to that. And the cast iron is a little bit stronger, so we're going to have a little bit stronger rear end. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to snug up this drain plug. Now, if you loosened up your stock fill plug that is on the other side, you are going to want to go ahead and tighten that back up, or at least make sure you don't forget if you are going to use the fill plug here. Now remember, bottom fill plug is your standard, and if you have a lift, you're going to want to use the top fill plug. I am not going to tighten up my back one yet, because my real one, because I want to see just how close this is once I fill this up. So now Ford claims that this is going to take 2 3/4 quarts. So I've got 3 quarts here. We're going to start dumping these in. Now as soon as this starts to overflow, that's when you know that you're full, whether you're using this one or you're using the actual Ford one on the other side. So I'm going to dump 2 in here, and then I'm going to go to the other side, and I'm going to fill it up on that just to see where this comes out on this one. It's going to take me a little while to get all this oil out, so we'll be back to show you that. While I was putting the rest of my oil in, my battery went dead, so we didn't get actual footage of that, but I figured we'd charge it up and I'd tell you what I did wrong. When I Googled what the capacity was, it said Ford recommends 2.75 quarts, whether you have the 8.8 or the 9.75 inch rear end. So I put in all that I could get out of the 3 quarts that I bought, and it was not enough. So I bought another quart, and I used all but that of it. So about 3 3/4 is what I put in. I had trouble getting it in because of the angle. I got this funnel, it was like $2. It's flexible a little bit, and it's got a much longer snout, and it helped me a lot to fill that up. So depending on, maybe I was looking at the wrong year. I didn't put a year specific. So once you get into the filler and it starts to overflow, that's full. That's what you want it to. That's what you want it to be. So hopefully this video was helpful to you. It's getting cold out here. It's getting hard to talk. We're going to have this vehicle back at Lindgren Supercars very shortly, so stay tuned for that. They have a vehicle on their dyno right now, and we are next. So if you're watching this channel for the first time and you haven't already, and you want to, boom, please subscribe.